there's not a lot of demand. There's not a strong demand for poor to mediocre scripts. And I think some people think, well, but that show on TV, that show's terrible. Can I do that? But mine is just as bad. It's like, well, we can talk about why that's bad, or how it's unfair that their bad show is on the air, but in your a bad show, your equally bad show is not. We could talk about that, but I think your odds go up exponentially by doing something great.
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Jamin, and welcome back to Screenwriters Need to Hear This, the podcast for screenwriters who need to hear this. And today we are talking about, the title of this episode is when putting your work out there, where is there? Because I say that a lot. I say, hey, just put your work out there. And one guy was like, hey, well, yeah, but where's there? Where is there? Which is a fair thing to ask. And so my answer to that, Phil, is anywhere. Put your work out anywhere. So whatever you got going on, if you've got nothing going on, which is fine, then putting out your work out there means giving it to somebody else. If you're only person who's read your script or you've seen your project is your mom, show it to one other person. Now you've doubled the number of people. And now you may think that, okay, but that's not enough. Okay, there are other things you can do. But so many people think like, when you're putting your work out there, is there a website? Is there a contest? Is there someone's doorstop? Is it me? I'm not the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is not what you think it is. When I first started in the business, I was just a dude who wanted to be a writer. And I teamed up with another dude who wanted to be a writer. There was nothing special about us. We didn't have connections. We were just two dudes. And we became friends, right? And that's how a lot of partnerships, that's just a lot about how opportunities, not even just partnerships. It's people who are friends, just doing things together because they both have a similar goal. And so putting your work out there means finding people like you, because making it in Hollywood is climbing a mountain. And when you climb a mountain, you don't start at the top. You don't show up to Netflix with your script. Hey, it doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe it has for one person, but don't kid yourself. For everyone else, you have to climb your way up the mountain. That means starting at the bottom, not starting at the top. And so where do you start at the bottom? The bottom is anything more. But if you've got this going on in your life, which is nothing, then do something which is a little more than what you have. If your neighbor's shooting something in their backyard, that's more than what you got going on. And just because they don't have the Universal Studios backing them doesn't mean it's not worthy of getting involved in them, in whatever they're doing. Because those people with similar interests tend to do things and they rise up, and you want to be part of that. A simple thing to do, a very simple thing to do, is if you live in a city, go to your local film school. Like, a lot of cities or towns have film schools, and every semester they usually have like film festivals, like to air the kids' work, their projects, and no one's going to those things. Because, like, who's going to go to that? It's like just their mom and their dad and maybe the roommate. Go buy a ticket. It'll be $5. It's not going to be much, if anything. Maybe it's free. And go sit through these movies and go watch them. And at the end, mingle with these kids and find something nice to say. Even if they're terrible, I'm sure you can find something nice to say about something. Go up to the director. I love the way you lit that scene in the alley. Go up to the writer. I love the way you wrote that wonderful the triplet, in the bedroom scene. I love that. I love that. Go up to the actor. You played that so wonderfully. Even if it's terrible, even if like the whole thing as a whole isn't great, I know you can find things to like about it. And you just go up to those people and say, hey, I love what you just did. I consider myself a fan. I'm a fan of your work. Now, a young kid who hears that is going to freak out, because imagine a stranger saying that. And that kid, maybe they can't collaborate on something now because they're in film school, but they'll be out of film school in a year or two or whatever. And now you are now you're hanging out with people who want the same thing. And maybe you collaborate. Maybe you'll work together on something. Maybe you won't. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to hire you on something. But those people are going to go up, and you want to build that base. You want to build that circle. And that's honestly, that's one of the advantages. So we have this screenwriting course, and one of the advantages is that we have a private Facebook group. And I see the people in the private Facebook group. They've gone to my course. They've learned all the lessons, and now they're collaborating. Some people are teamed up. Some people they're doing table reads together. they're socializing in the group, and I think that's fantastic. I'm not organizing any of that. They're organizing it on their own. They're having table reads. They're helping each other out, which is so smart because that tide rises, man. They help each other out. People are already doing great things in that group. Good for them, and they don't need me. I don't need to prod them. They're doing it on their own. The fact that they're doing it on their own. These are people who want it, who will make something happen because they want it.
I've always
hang out with those people.
I've always described that group as kind of, there's a barrier to entry there, and I think that you and I've talked about this too. There's a price on your course, and there are a lot of people who are like, well, why are you charging for a course? Why are you giving this away? And I'm the one who pushed for the price on the course because I have experienced enough, and I've invested enough in myself in many ways in the business world, in the marketing world. I continue to do this. I've paid for most screenwriting courses online because the people who will appreciate it the most are the ones who will pay for it. And you're giving away important information. Yeah. But that also is important to those of us who are in that private Facebook group, because all of us are showing we are committed to making this work. And that means when people are asking for notes, they're asking for help, they're asking for feedback, the value that is being shared in that group is extremely high. And I've been in a lot of free screenwriting groups. It's people who understand, they're thinking about it the same way, and they're just as committed to making this work and making a career out of this as I am, and as the Dave Crossmans are, and the Mike, everyone is.
They got skin in the game. You got to put skin in the game. If it's free, it's worthless, and it's not worthless. Yep. So put skin in the game, and that'll keep and that'll keep you motivated. You're investing in yourself. You're going to be motivated to make something happen. So anyway, that's one thing I would do. I'd go up to those film schools and start socializing with those kids. If you're in a town in the middle of nowhere, I would go to your community theater, local theater, and you'll find people, actors, writers, directors, who want to be involved, maybe they want to be involved in your next project that you write. They just want to act in it. And so that's your little circle. I mean, and there's amazing things that can be done. Remember, everyone who breaks into the business, we're no ones beforehand. There's nothing, it's not like we had signs over our head, future success. It's, we're just people. And so that's what I would do. And a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was months ago, I don't remember, but some kid reached out to me from film school. He was looking for an actor in his 50s to be in his student production. Now, I wasn't really interested in that, but if I were an aspiring actor, you better believe I would have said yes to that. I would have, I'll do that, because those kids are going places, and now you're building out your network. And so there's just no, where is here? Here is anywhere. Just put it out anywhere. Do whatever, that's what opportunity looks like. Opportunity doesn't look like someone handing you a check. Opportunity looks like you making things and doing things, and they always, one thing leads to another. It just does,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've put yourself out there over the last year on social media, and right. And that platform, we had a podcast recently talking about, if you were trying to break in, what would you do? And you would do this. You would be putting yourself out on social media, the podcasting thing. I look at that and I think, okay, I am not a produced screenwriter. Why would I write a podcast? Why would I have a podcast about screenwriting? I don't know that I would, if I weren't here with you, because I'm very aware that there are a lot of charlatans and snake oil salesmen trying to get a hold of people and make them think they're an expert, and they're pretending to be something. If you're interviewing experts, that's a different story. If you're providing value and getting access for a different way, that's a different story. But that doesn't mean you need to be putting yourself on social media as a screenwriting expert if you are not. I think what you're saying is you should be showing everyone what you have. You should be giving it away for free. You should be putting it out there so that people can easily get access to the special thing that makes you a talented person who can write, act, direct, produce, whatever it is you're doing.
And you've had some opportunities just because of you're doing this, or people know you, and people, come up to you just because of this, because you're putting yourself out there, So, and we talked about some things off on the side, opportunities have kind of come your way just because of just because you're here now, and you're showing up, even on the job you're currently working in, you're showing up.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't. I guess don't be so literal in terms of like people say, well, how do I get my show on HBO? Well, you start at the bottom. That's how,
Yeah.
I don't, I certainly did. It's so odd that people, I don't know, I guess they get this information on the internet, but they're like, how do I sell a show on HBO or any network really?
Right.
And, well, I'll tell you how I did it. I started at the bottom. So I can go in and I can pitch them. And it's not easy. And it's not a guarantee I'll sell anything, but I can get the session. I can get the pitch, but it's because I've earned it. And they trust me now with that I'll do a good job if they want it, and that I know how to make it. But so a stranger, they don't just come off the street. They're not gonna, they're not going to just trust someone who hasn't done anything before. Why would they? Would you? I mean, would anybody? You're not going to hand over a check for a couple $100,000 to someone who hasn't done anything before. That would be nuts.
That message is something that separates you from every other guru in the world. Not that you call yourself a guru, but there are a lot of people who claim to be, and they're selling the dream. And when we started putting the course together and we started putting this stuff out there, that was one of the things you were adamant about. I cannot sell the dream. I can't be the guy who goes out and tells them, you're going to make it, buy my course, rah, 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 you're going to make it. And there was a lot of pushback on putting a price tag on the course. And I said, you need to, because they're going to need to value it. And we have to figure out a way to not sell the dream. And your way of doing that is being so real with people. That seems to be the thing that stands out for you. That's the thing time and time again, people say, ouch, needed to hear this. Thank you so much for being real about this. Because you're taking people down from cloud 9 of the unreal expectations that I might have had of being a Nichols Fellowship winner on my first script I put in, or an Oscar winner on the first thing that gets produced, whatever it is, whatever delusions of grandeur that I had to have to get me to where I am today. That dose of reality is very important because it does two things.
Well,
one, go ahead.
Well, no, please finish.
I was going to say it does two things. One, it makes you take a dose of reality to take a step back and say, hey, how committed do I need to be to this? And do I have what it takes to actually commit to doing this with the belief that I will get better the more at-bats that I have? Or the other option is, man, this is not for me. I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to be in tech sales. I'm going to make a pretty good living there, enjoy my life, and just enjoy film and television.
Right.
Both are valuable.
When we talk about, living the dream or selling the dream, like to me, the dream is, and this, what I make clear about the course is, the dream is I will help you become a better writer. I will help you express yourself and hopefully write at the level that is required for you to get work. But that's what I can do for you. I can help you because there's not a lot of demand. There's not a strong demand for poor to mediocre scripts. And I think some people think, well, but that show on TV, that show's terrible. Can I do that? But mine is just as bad. It's like, well, we can talk about why that's bad, or how it's unfair that their bad show is on the air, but in your bad show, your equally bad show is not. We could talk about that, but I think your odds go up exponentially by doing something great. And that's all I can help you with. I can't promise you anything other than that. So,
but what else do we want? Like, what more could we ask of you, right? That. No one's going to make it in this world until they happen. And unless you make it happen for yourself. You cannot rely on other people to give you anything. Self-reliance is the term we call that in any other aspect. And I think there's a level of self-reliance we need to have. And what you're telling people is you need to do the work. You need to sit down. You need to write. Mm-hmm. You need to understand the craft. You need to have those practice at-bats. You don't have to go out in front of a major league ballpark and try to hit a home run. You can put in the daily singles that we've talked about early on in this podcast. What can I do today to get ahead? And that's it. That's all is required is daily singles.
And I'd like to also add, the barrier to entry is actually quite different than it was when I broke in many years ago. I would describe myself, and this is a weird thing to say, but I at this point, I'm kind of a Hollywood insider. I've been doing it for 26 years. So when I pitch a show, I'm the guy you'd think that they would buy a show from. I have 26 years of experience. Who else do you think they're going to buy a show from if not someone like me, right? So I guess I'm kind of an insider. But the last 3 shows that I've worked on were created by Hollywood outsiders. And so that would be Marin, Rhett and Link, and Tacoma FD. These are people who didn't come in through the Hollywood system, and they just created something special on their own. and became success, made it so big and built up a big following and a fan base because they just did it themselves, because they didn't ask permission. And then because of that, they got so big that they needed to hire people like me to help them with their TV shows.
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
There's room out there for people. Like, there is, create your stuff and make it great. I mean, you still have to be great. There's that little matter you have to get over. But isn't that the way it should be? I mean, shouldn't it have to be great? I mean,
yeah,
that seems reasonable.
I think so. Tying this back to what we've been talking about across the board, you practice. Like,
yeah,
you don't go out and become an NFL player. And again, we've talked about the statistic about slightly more NFL players than there are, slightly more working writers than in the NFL. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right? So we've talked about that quite a bit. So the odds are not great for most of us to be professional writers. But I can tell you what improves your odds.
Yeah.
Working out every day, getting faster, getting stronger, practice throwing the ball, practicing and drilling tackles, and learning the playbook. All of those things that you would do to be a professional athlete, you got to do them as a writer too. You need to come,
right.
You need to show up every day. You need to practice coming up with ideas. You need to sort through the wheat and the chaff to find the good stuff. You gotta break stories. You need to figure out when you break a story why it doesn't work. You need to do your outlines. You need to figure out why it doesn't work in the outline, but it felt like it worked in the other one. You need to write the first draft. You need to finish the first draft, which is hard for most people to do. Then you got to do the harder part, which is share that really bad draft and know that it's bad with people who are going to give you good feedback on it. Then you have to take those notes and you have to dust off what works, figure out how to make it better, send it out, and then you got to do it again and again and again and again and again. And then when you finally have something that's good enough, you got to put it away or send it out, and then you got to do that again. You got to start the whole process over and over again. And most people do not have the fortitude to do that because it's hard work. But no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to get up at an hour earlier to help you sit down and write for an hour every day. No one's going to send that email to your friend who's a writer and say, "Hey, can you read this and give me notes?" No one's going to sit down and get the notes and then apply the notes. No one's going to do it. You have to do that.
So my partner and I, we have a project set up, an animated project set up at Peacock now. But we also just pitched a project that didn't sell. It was a live action project. It didn't sell. We only took it out to a few networks and whatever. They weren't interested, which is par for the course. So my partner texted me today, goes, "Well, when do you want to start on the new idea?" So, all right, Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I start this project, this process again of coming up with an idea and then going out and pitching it, knowing full well that the last time I did this, I didn't sell it. And this is par for the course. So I don't just stop. I don't just think, well, I don't just have this one idea and I don't beat it down every door and beg people, well, when it didn't sell, I'm like, it's done. It's done. Well, can you find somebody? No, it's done. We find something else. Come up with something else.
So Major League Baseball, right? We talk about at-bats and swinging. You can go to batting practice. You can take swings. You can practice. But look at the best batting average in the major leagues. And I'm not a huge baseball fan by any stretch. I love sports and I love watching a good game. And I'll sit down and I'll go to a Dodgers game or wherever I am to enjoy a game. But it's like 300. 300's amazing.
Yeah.
That means
if you get a hit once out of every 3 times, you are going to the Hall of Fame, basically.
You literally imagine if Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or whoever went up, struck out and said, "That's it. Guess this isn't for me. I better walk away. Better hang up the cleats and hand the glove off to that kid because I am not going to make it." No, it is striking out and striking out and striking out until you finally hit one. And that makes you amazing. So none of us are going to be perfect the first time. How we talked about like the fact that if you were to start over and try to break in, you would be digital. Like you would go digital and try to put this out there. I received an email from someone in the course, I received an email from someone who was like, I don't think they're in the course. They emailed the support email and I said, hey, and it was to me. So they obviously listen to the podcast. So if you're listening to this, hopefully my advice was helpful. But they said, I am looking to get a short film produced. And I was just wondering, like, what are the distribution? How do I get that out there? What should I do to make this the best possible? And my advice to them was, before you put a dime into producing a project, you need to make sure you have a good script, because a mediocre script shot very well does nothing. So I would absolutely take the time to make sure that what you have is worth shooting before you're going to go through the time and expense of making that thing happen. Because although it's good experience for everyone involved to get out and sort through the sound issues that inevitably come up and test your lenses and realize that you didn't have the audio on in the camera, so you can't sync your audio, et cetera, et cetera. All the things are valuable lessons. It's much cheaper to make that mistake on paper and in your final draft or whatever you're writing with before you get on the camera, before you have the rental for the red.
Because what if you shoot it and it's just mediocre? If like the script is no good, so who cares how well lit it is and how it looks like a movie? And look, who cares about the special? If the story's boring, who cares? No one's going to be impressed about how you framed the scene or how the camera flew in, or no, they're just going to be bored. No one's going to say, "Wow, look at that sweeping camera shot." No one's going to be impressed by the drone footage you put up there. Everyone has drone footage. Who cares? Is the story good? Yeah. That's all that people want to care about.
So what I said was, first recommendation was invest in the course, because you're going to learn how to tell a good story. Once you're done with that, you have a group of people who you can send it to, get notes, get feedback, and they're going to tell you from the lens of proper story structure what's wrong with this. And then you can hone that in. I even offered to read the script. I said, send it to me. I'll read it. I'll tell you if it's good or bad from my limited perspective. But I can say that now with a little bit of pride and say, I'm at a higher level than I was a year ago. I'm at a higher level than I was 6 years ago when I graduated film school.
Yeah.
So at least what I'm going to give you is closer to what a Michael Jamin note is going to be on this project.
Yeah.
But that's the value you get when you're interacting and you have this group of people who are putting in the work and the time and the effort and they're doing it.
Yeah.
This is like, to me, this is like golf, right? We recently just did the Tacoma Cup. We all went out and golfed, and Mike Rep was one of the writers on the show, and I placed dead last. We were the worst on the team.
Right.
He hadn't played in 15 years. I hadn't played in 5 years. But we were out there in a foursome, all teeing off, all hitting, all supporting each other. But it's an individual game. I can't blame Mike Rep for his bad shot. I have to take accountability for knocking a tree limb down on a tree, which actually happened. I don't know if I told you that.
Right. That's funny.
But that's an individual sport supported by the people in my foursome. And we had a great time. They coached me when I made mistakes. This is the same thing. So a lot of sports references today, but ultimately you have to get out. You have to take your at-bats. You have to strike out. And you have to do that over and over and over again until you get incrementally better every single day.
Look at the people, how they broke in and how they started. And I'm certainly was humble. I did a post and I talked about something, and someone said, like, well, Quentin Tarantino doesn't have to. And I'm like, are you Quentin Tarantino? When you show up to the Ivy in your Maserati, do they mistake you for Quentin Tarantino? No. So the rules, even though he does it one way, you haven't earned that right yet. Maybe you will, but right now you're not. And so start a little lower.
Yeah. I think being very aware, self-awareness, it goes right along with self-reliance. I need to understand the facts of my situation. And that takes some time alone to journal and ask the questions. Where am I? Mm-hmm. What are my skill sets? If Quentin Tarantino is a 10 and I want to be Quentin Tarantino, realistically on the spectrum, where am I? Take an accounting of where you're at with the skill sets you need. Recognize where you need to shore up and where you need to focus and improve. Because if you're a 10 in coming up with the idea and you're a 1 on the execution, your average here is still pretty bad, right?
Yeah. And it's a long road. So if one step at a time, know that it's going to take years. That's okay. You're getting closer and closer with every step you take. So
when you said it's like climbing a mountain step by step, it was like Everest has base camp. You have to.
They start. Yeah.
You have to get
and you
to
got to
the
acclimate.
base camp. You got to acclimate
before you start.
Then you start.
Then you start. Right.
Where are you on the journey? Where do you need to improve? Put in the time, energy, and effort. And either way, you'll, as you always say, you get to be creative. You get to be centered and focused. And that alone is worth the effort and energy you're going to put out.
Yeah, because you're spending your time doing something you love. And if you don't love it, then don't do it. And if you're only doing it for the money, there are other ways to make money.
Go sell stuff.
Easier ways to make
You'll make a lot more money selling stuff.
Yeah. So if you want to be creative, this is how to do it. Yeah.
I think a very powerful episode today. I know it's a pretty short episode.
Do the work. Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just start doing the work. Yeah. So you don't have to write your Oscar speech yet. You have time.
Hey, you guys all know what my social media is. At Phil A. Hudson. Hit me up. I run a digital marketing agency on the side. I help some pretty influential people get their message out there.
Yeah.
Happy to answer questions. Just message me. We'll talk about it. Okay.
Yep. And that's it. All right, everyone. Couple of announcements. So I'll be touring with my show, Paper Orchestra. If you want to come see me in your city and you want to know where I'm going to be, go to michaeljamin.com/live, and I'll let you know where I'm coming to next. We're going to Boston next is my next city, and then back in LA for 2 shows in December, but we'll be going other places as well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and until the next time. Bye.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin and Phil Hudson. If you'd like to support this podcast, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing this podcast with someone who needs to hear today's subject. For free daily screenwriting tips, follow Michael on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Phil A. Hudson. This episode was produced by Phil Hudson and edited by Dallas Crane. Until next time, keep writing.